It's fitting that today, the day of the start of the Kendrick Lamar and SZA Grand National Tour, I am here to talk to you about Aubrey Drake Graham's amended complaint in his case against UMG about Kendrick Lamar's song, Not Like Us. He filed this amended complaint earlier this week. So he was in a unique posture because he had filed the original case back in January, I think. UMG filed a very robust motion to dismiss. I have a Drake playlist if you want to go back and hear what that motion to dismiss was about. There's a video in there about that. And then Aubrey came back and said, no, wait, I'm going to amend. Because he was still within the time that you have to amend your complaint because that case hadn't been going on for very long. So when he and his lawyers, also some of Blake Lively's lawyers, amended this complaint, they had the benefit of having seen all of the arguments that UMG is going to make to try to get this case dismissed. So they could plead around those arguments. And that happens sometimes. They pretty much knew what the arguments were going to be anyway because they had gone through this other procedure in Texas where the same issues came up. But this week, Drake filed his amended complaint. Now, the court has already set a hearing for UMG's motion to dismiss because I think they're just going to file basically the same motion just with some updated citations to the complaint. And I believe that hearing is in June, late June. So this is going to be heard. As I have said before, when a federal judge sets something for a live oral argument, that is a very good sign for the person who has brought the motion because federal judges don't do that unless they are seriously thinking about taking action and they want to preserve the record because they know it's going to be appealed no matter what the decision is. So what did the new amended complaint say? I mean, it's substantially the same stuff. It's substantially the same legal claims. He sues UMG for defamation for saying that they perpetuated and republished over and over and over again, Not Like Us. And that Not Like Us is defamatory, although he doesn't sue Kendrick Lamar and makes a big deal in press to say he's not suing Kendrick Lamar. That is the original sin here, is that he claims the parts of Not Like Us that call him a pedophile are defamatory and that UMG, knowing they were false and knowing that it would hurt his reputation, they just kept promoting this song in bigger and bigger ways, and now it's got all these streams and it's gotten all these awards and it was at the Super Bowl, and that all harms Drake because every single time that song is played in front of new people now have this allegation in front of them that he is a pedophile. So the factual things that were added were the Grammys, the things that have happened, right? Not Like Us won a whole bunch of Grammys. Of course, Drake implies that they were all bought, that UMG put all this money and promotion into it, and so it won all these Grammys because UMG wanted it to win Grammys. I don't know. They, of course, cite the Super Bowl performance. They're like, a lot of people watch the Super Bowl that don't otherwise listen to hip-hop music. It's interesting because in order to make these claims that every time Not Like Us is used, it causes Drake more damages, you also have to continually cite how popular that song is. So he said, one of the things he said is, it's like, it helps his case, but it's also kind of like a self-own, where it's like, you know, this Super Bowl halftime show was the most watched halftime show ever. And that some number like 18 million more people watched the halftime show than watched the game. So, you know, if you're a Kendrick stan like I am, you're like, yeah, because the guy is good. The reason the song is popular is because the guy's a fucking amazing artist and performer. It's not about you. The only other real factual thing he added is about people's reactions to it. So the main legal issue here is this a fact? Is what he calls Drake in this song a fact? Because remember that defamation has to be based on facts, and those facts have to be false. So the argument that UMG is making is first of all, this is art that's protected by the First Amendment, so it can't possibly be defamation. But also, if anything, these are opinions, not facts. Nobody really thinks that Drake is a pedophile. And what Drake's lawyers do is cite dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of articles and social media posts and all kinds of stuff where people are saying, I guess he really is one, showing that there are people out there who do take it as fact. Now, I'm sure that there are people, I'm sure that the other side could pull up dozens and dozens and dozens of articles and social media posts saying the opposite. But they cite this as evidence that these are not opinions. People think this stuff is true because Kendrick Lamar said it. The legal argument they make on the opinion, and this is interesting to me, calls back to something that the Wayfarer people used with Ryan Reynolds. So if you remember, one of Ryan Reynolds' arguments on the motion to dismiss the defamation claims as against him for the comments to WME, he says, you know, if I told WME people that they should fire Justin Baldoni because he is a predator, I had no reason to believe that what I was saying wasn't absolutely true, right? Because they have to allege actual malice, that he not only said a false thing, but that he knew it was false when he said it, because Baldoni is a public figure. The Wayfarer response to that was this exception in the law that says, if something would normally look like an opinion and not a fact, but who it comes from and the fact that that person may have special information makes it feel like fact in that circumstance, that can be a fact for purposes of defamation. So in the Reynolds-Baldoni case, what the Baldoni people were arguing was he was running around saying that this guy was a predator. And maybe if some random person was running around calling Justin Baldoni a predator, you're right, it would just be opinion. But because he was the husband of this woman, and because he had specialized undisclosed knowledge about what happened, people took his statements as if they were fact, because he would know. So that is exactly the same argument that Drake makes with regard to Kendrick Lamar calling him a pedophile, because there are parts in that song and other songs and other statements of like, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what I know about Drake. Drake makes the argument that, yes, people perceive that as being more than just, oh, Kendrick flipping off, because Kendrick claims to have information about all the stuff that I've done. And because of the rap community and because of all the things that he said publicly, he acts like, trust me, guys, I know this stuff. So it's not an opinion when it comes from Kendrick Lamar. We'll see if that argument prevails. So the same issue that is happening in all the Lively Baldoni motions to dismiss is what's happening here, which is the judge has to decide, are these fact issues or not? Do we need to go forward? Is it a fact issue to decide, is this opinion or is this fact? Is it a legal issue so that we don't, no matter what facts we uncover, it does not matter? I think that what is really going to be critical to that is what this judge can consider or decides to consider in ruling on this motion to dismiss. Usually, as I've said, when you're ruling on a motion to dismiss, you can only utilize the complaint and what's attached to the complaint. But both Drake in his amended complaint and UMG in their motion to dismiss, and I assume they'll do it again, have cited to articles and social media posts and stuff like that. And they've asked the court to take judicial notice of those things. Judicial notice is when you don't have to enter something as evidence, or it's like a workaround to evidence to just say, this is a publicly known thing. Nobody disputes that this is a real thing. Nobody disputes that this was said. Nobody disputes where it's coming from. So the court you don't have to go through the whole evidence thing. So, for example, I could ask the judge to take judicial notice of the fact that it's Saturday, April 19th, because who's going to dispute that, right? So they're asking the judge to take judicial notice of all these public things. If she does that, that will change the way that she looks at this, because then she can consider all of the public sentiment as well, which may allow her to get to a fact issue and say no to the motion to dismiss. I hope not. We'll know more at the end of June, but certainly ask me questions about that. I love talking about this case, and I'm super duper biased, and I'm not afraid to say it.